I'm not here to teach you what to think. I'm here to teach you how to think. What's a mistake that older guys make when it comes to things like fashion and taking care of themselves? Hygiene is a sign of high quality sperm, and for some reason, some older guys think, well, I'm old now, so I don't really have to take care of the way I look. You always have to look out for your own hygiene. Why? Because it's a sign of high quality sperm. Keep your fingernails trim. Why? Because a woman looks at that and says, wow, a guy who touches other women probably keeps his fingernails trim. This old guy keeps his fingernails trim. I don't know if he's touching another girl, but I'd be open to him touching me. Now this brings us up to a question that was on the list here. Should a guy get involved in the style of clothing of younger men? Should a guy get into the music of the younger girls? Should he try to emulate younger culture, for lack of a better term? And the answer is no. Because if she wanted a guy who was into the same music and the same clothes and so on, she has her pick of younger guys hitting on her. It's one thing if you have an appreciation for it, but do not be a fad victim. Do not style your hair or wear a certain type of clothing just because it happens to be in right now when you're looking to pick up younger girls. Because one, if you miss the trend and you find out that an old fad is now over, you look like a fad victim. We have a question.
Sorry, this just brings me to another question. So if you go into a club and you see like a 55-year-old geezer, women aren't obviously going to be attracted to that. So where would an old geezer like that go to pick up 20-year-old women?
Brilliant question. I was actually going to bring that up later. So can we save it for later? Okay, we're going to save that for later under where can we meet women. One of the things I wanted to point out is that there's a difference between a preference and addressing an emotional need, which is deep attraction. Women may have preferences the same way you guys may have preferences. Some of you guys have preferences for large breasts. Some of you may have preferences for blondes. Some of you have preferences for redheads. Some of you have a preference for a certain type of woman of a particular ethnicity. But that's just a preference. If you meet a woman that doesn't have necessarily all of your preferences, but she addresses all of your emotional needs, those preferences really aren't that important, and they can go the wayside. Same thing for a woman. That's why you don't emulate things like, oh, we have to have the same music in common. We have to have we have to love the same TV shows and so on. That's not where you connect with another human being. You connect on the way those things make you feel. I love professional wrestling. My wife loves cooking shows. I do not like cooking shows. My wife does not like professional wrestling. You don't build a relationship on those type of preferences. However, the way I feel after watching professional wrestling, where I've been entertained and I had a good time and I had a good laugh, that's the way she feels when she watches her cooking shows, when they're making jokes, when they're showing her how to cook something that's new and she feels that she's gotten something out of it. We can connect on those emotions even though we have completely different preferences. Now, if you happen to like the music and you happen to like the style of fashion, great. If it's you, go with it. But don't force it on yourself just because you're trying to attract a younger girl. So that's emotional number 9, high quality sperm. Emotional need number 10, prove you're not a closet homosexual. Here's the good news. The fact that you're older men makes this emotional need one of the easiest for you to address. Because if you were going to come out of the closet, you would have done it a long time ago. If you went through a phase of experimenting, you got over that phase a long time ago. Even if you make a mistake in your approach and you come off as a slightly creepy old guy, you're a creepy old heterosexual guy and not a creepy old gay guy. You get it? Normally, I don't say this, but on this one, emotional need, when you're dealing with an older guy who is pursuing younger women, you almost get a freebie on this one. And you got to understand, I don't like giving freebies on nothing. But on this one, older guy pursuing women, if he was gay at his age, he would be wanting and living the gay lifestyle and not hiding it anymore. Again, it's just assumed that if you're an older guy, you've gotten rid of all of your own dysfunctions. You've already dealt with yourself. How accurate that is in the population where every old guy actually has taken care of himself, not always accurate, but that's the assumption, and the assumption works in your favor. So those are the 10 emotional needs of women and how a man addresses it. I want to talk about very quickly, how do you know which emotional need is most important to a particular woman? Now, I've covered this in my book, Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test. I also have the book, The Emotional Needs Analysis Workbook, Volume 1, where you read a story, you are given the 10 emotional needs, you're asked to figure out which ones were violated, addressed, and which ones are neutral, and to write it out. Then you turn to the back of the book and you get your answer. So for those of you who want an academic workout, that's where you'll find it. For those of you listening to the CD who are still not familiar with the rest of my work, here's my answer. Engaging in conversation, knowing what the 10 emotional needs are, keeping them in your brain, you will talk about things that you know are addressing her emotional needs. After, let's say, a 20 or 30-minute conversation, you should have addressed at least each emotional need once. Whatever she wants to continue the conversation about,